Google boys a while back, the engineers, they did an analysis of women's use of pornography, men's too. Well, so males use visual pornography, as everyone and their dog knows, but women prefer literary pornography, and it's very tightly themed. It's very archetypally themed. So the typical protagonist is surgeon, werewolf, vampire, pirate, or billionaire, or some combination, some interesting combination of all of those attributes. And the standard
common point between those archetypes, it's the power that they have. So guys, basically what that means is they are attracted to the power position or the dominance that this archetype has over them.
Plot is attractive young woman, all of whose virtues are not well known. So it's like mousy librarian type, the Hollywood beauty who takes off her glasses, exactly that. She attracts the attention of this more predatory male, let's say, or at least a male with the capacity to be predatory, entices him into a relationship and helps him reveal his commitment and his good side. And it's Beauty and the Beast, fundamentally.
So that's why you see a lot of women that chase the bad guy and they want to change him. That's always the plot. That's always what you see out there, man. And you can't blame women because they need a dominant man. Back in those times, they needed a guy that can defend themselves, defend their family. So you can't really blame them, man. You can't blame them.
Which I really think is the fundamental female archetype. Like there's a heroic archetype that goes along with the feminine as well, because women also confront the unknown and all of that. But it is the fundamental, it's certainly the fundamental female sexual archetype. And so what that means, this is perhaps what
this is what they're actually sexually attracted to. That's what they read online. So guys, you shouldn't even look further than that. If you can turn this part of their brain on, you Gucci, bro. So that's why you need to look at those archetypes and try to mold yourself into one of them. Guys, I actually have a story I can tell y'all from somebody I know. This person works in a doctor's office, is a female, and she cheated with the doctor. Another time she cheated with a self-defense instructor. What does that tell you? When you're a doctor and you have a lot of secretaries that are women that work for you, they will look at you as this archetype, this dominant archetype, because you're above them all at this job. This doctor might go home to his wife and she completely bullies him and stuff, and that's not the case anymore. But in the office, this dude is the alpha. So guys, what you have to remember is you can be a situational alpha. That's what it's called. You can be the top dog in your field, and that will get you women. So even the self-defense instructor, like in those classes, I bet there were multiple women and men, and they look up to him because what is self-defense? It's protecting, man. It's protecting their children. It's protecting them, and that's attractive to women, man. So as a dude, you should find something that you're good at naturally and become the best at it in this field. So there's fields that will get you less women than others, but imagine you're like you become a restaurant owner. We have a guy here, he's a restaurant owner. All the women love him because they know, oh, it's a great pizza place, it's the best place out here, and they all know him. He goes up to them, he talks to them, they love him, man. So women look at stuff like this and they find this attractive. I also have a story I'm gonna tell you later. Let's keep on watching.
Struck a chord in your soul is that you were enamored, you said, of the image of tough guy, right? And so that would be equivalent in some sense to a desire from the Jungian perspective of incorporation of the shadow, right? To make yourself into someone who's capable of being stalwart and tough. A James Bond sort of figure, that's a good example in the modern age. But then you found that should be allied with a purpose, right? That rescuing of the maiden, that goes two ways. Of course, the maiden gets rescued, but the fact that dangerous hero rescues the maiden and is therefore attractive to her is also his salvation.
Right, and I mean, it is the problem that young men have to solve, right? It's the problem of power. We have strength, we have power, we have a kind of sexual power as well. And you start to think, well, if you don't want to be the bad guy. I mean, at some point, every young man realizes that nasty guys get more sex. and they realize that people who push women around can be very successful. And you have to say to yourself, well, is that who I want to be? And I very much did not want to be that guy, but I did want to be successful with girls. And I also could perceive, just in actual fact, that the world is a corrupt place, and it's power that makes it corrupt. And Raymond Chandler has that famous, wonderful line, down these...
Guys, anywhere you go, it's not always clean rules. It's whoever does the most dirtiest things gets to the top, man, and nobody cares, man. That's how it goes in life.
In streets, a man must go who is not himself mean, and that just rang a bell inside me.
Man.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, okay, so on that too. So the literature shows. So what the psychopaths and narcissists, the Machiavellians, and even the sadists do, the men, is that the false confidence of the narcissist is a mimicry of competence. And
that is a big point right here. So what they do, narcissists, they mimic this confidence, this overconfidence. That's why a lot of young women that can't see the difference, they fall for those type of guys. And they then realize he's not actually confident, he's just a narcissist. I wouldn't advise you to build this fake confidence, because at one point she's going to realize that it's fake confidence. It's not from something you have achieved. That's why you have to go out and do something. Like I said, find something that you're already good at or already like. It can be YouTube, it can be sport, it can be writing books, it can be even a construction worker. Find a way to become the best construction worker. You build your own business where you build houses and you become the best at this.
It can be put on very early, and young women are particularly susceptible to that camouflage, and that partly accounts for the differential success of, bad boys, let's say. Now, it's partly because the women are looking for the beast that can be turned into the ally, but it's not easy for them to distinguish the beast who is beast right to the bloody core and should be stayed away from in every possible way, from the potentially redeemable, Philip Marlowe hero. And then there's another complication too, to say something in favor of the more beastly men, is that the other thing a woman doesn't want, and no men really want to have around either, is a man who's actually weak and unskilled, who pretends to be moral and kind, not only to cozy up to women, but also to parade his weakness as moral virtue. I'm not the mean guy, I'm not the bad guy. Well, the reason for that is you're too goddamn weak to manage that. And instead of just admitting that forthrightly and doing something about it, you parade it as a moral virtue. And I think that sort of man is actually a lower form of man than the outright bully. And there's some evidence that other people think this too, because the kind of antisocial bully types, especially in elementary school, aren't unpopular. They're ambivalently popular. Now, what happens is that as their life progresses, if they continue with the bullying attitude, let's say, that sort of narcissistic and even callous attitude towards others, it doesn't work well as a long-term strategy. But the bullies are certainly more popular in elementary school, say, and even in junior high, than the bully victims are.
I think it goes beyond that. I mean, I think this is why...
This is insane, guys. The guy who bullies people is more popular than the people getting bullied. And that's how cruel the world can be, man. That's why you always have to be wanting better for you, honestly, and doing better, bro. And a lot of times what happens in high school stays in high school. People change. Like he said, the dude that's bullying, he's not always going to be successful with that, and he will stay back, while the other person that might got bullied in high school just wants better for him, has good grades, and then goes on to be top dog, the alpha of something, man. Maybe he becomes a doctor after, and who gonna laugh last, man? So always make sure you keep on moving forward and striving for greatness.
Feminism has blown up in women's faces so much is when you outlaw masculinity, when you call it toxic, when you make people feel bad about their masculinity. Only outlaws can be masculine. So if you look at the golden age of television we just passed through that lasted about 10 years, from about 2020 to 2010 or 15, all of the shows were about bad guys. The Sopranos, The Shield, The Wire, all about guys who really cut the edge.
Prison Break.
This fellow Andrew Tate, who is a a buffoon and a pimp and just a terrible person. For a period, he was immensely popular, especially with teen boys, and he would tell people how to abuse women and how to get them into sex work for your profit. And I would look at that and I would say, the guy's a pimp. What are you talking about?
Right.
But they would say, well, you're not hearing him. You're not really understanding that. I think I was. I think what they had lost was the idea of St. George. They had lost the idea that your power is a path to virtue. It's not an obstacle to virtue if you use it correctly.
Yeah, well, and to give the devil his due, I mean, the thing about Tate is he is a complex character because not all of his bravado and posturing is false, because he is a mixed martial arts fighter. He is a genuinely tough guy. And he is also someone...
That's what I was thinking, man. Andrew Tate, man, it's not fake confidence, man. This guy's a confident dude. He can fight. He's been fighting. He won some titles, whether they're big titles or not, doesn't matter, because he was in that ring fighting. And he also came from nothing, bro. So you can't take this away from him. Yeah, you can say what he did was wrong, but I also know that women will go on OnlyFans and sell their bodies, and he probably saw this as an opportunity to make money. Yeah, it's not the best thing if you do that, and I would never do that, honestly, myself. I would rather do something that helps people, because basically he does the opposite than he preaches, because he gets men to watch women jack off and stuff, and at the same time he's saying, yeah, don't jack off, go do something with your life. He's basically contradicting himself, and a lot of women like him.
From the street, and so you can imagine that within his soul all sorts of different forces contend, and I am not making excuses for him, because I think the electronic pimping aspect in particular is, I think that's unforgivable. It's absolutely 100% unforgivable. There's no excuse for ever having done that in your life, not even once, and it's not even necessarily the kind of sin that you can recover from.
It's a sin,
not without 20 years in serious hang-your-head repentance. But he is a complex figure, because allied with his bravado is a genuine physical toughness. And it is definitely the case that, as you pointed out, something I learned about years ago is that, if you think that strong men are dangerous, you wait till you see what weak men are capable of. And
exactly.
If you demonize everything that's positive, everything positive that's associated with masculinity, you do drive it into the...
He's so right, because I think if Andrew Tate sees a guy doing wrong to a woman, he's gonna kick the shit out of him, bro. You better believe that. You better believe that. But I'm not sure about another weak dude that does this. He will never do that. He will be happy. An incel, he will be probably happy that this shit happened. So don't take this as wrong.
Unconscious, you drive it underground, and then you do get this weird attraction. Another element of that attraction is, who is that? There was a show for a long time about a serial killer who decided to...
Dexter, yeah.
Dexter, exactly, the same sort of thing, right? And you see the same sort of thing pop up, for example, in 50 Shades of Grey, which is, again, an archetypal example of the feminine proclivity for a certain kind of structured pornography.
Guys, go check out Jordan Peterson, man. He's the GOAT. The second story I wanted to tell y'all was about basketball. I was a basketball player professionally, like y'all know. And I played in smaller clubs in Switzerland, Germany, and even in high school at IMG. In those towns, even though it's a smaller team, not even first division sometimes, you are still the situational alpha as a player, because people come, they pay to watch your games. So women would still throw themselves at us basketball players, especially when you look good too. Be that situational alpha. That's the best you can do. You can be an actor, don't even have to be the biggest actor, but that's enough already. And when you get your body together too, that's already 2 points that you have for yourself.